Hello, everyone. This is really, really exciting. We have a very, very special guest with us today, Laura Hunter, our CEO and inventor of the magnetic eyeliner and lashes. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Thanks so much for being here. We are going to let her just talk about this opportunity that you guys have right now. Here we are in what we call pre-launch. You can officially sign up, which is super, super exciting. We have this time to just basically build our teams. Come a specific date, which we don't know for sure. We're just saying April 1st right now, you guys will be able to sell. So we're encouraging you to build your customer lists, get to know all the product, learn about our team resources, and just dive right in and get going with this. Laura Hunter here is one of my dear friends, and she has an amazing story. Every time she tells it, I'm like, girl, you are so inspiring. Keep sharing that story. It's amazing. And it's why we're all here today and why we've been able to be blessed by everything that she is and everything that she's done. So thank you, Laura. Thank you for doing this for us. And I am so excited for all of these ladies to get to know you. We'll go ahead and let her share her story. We have a few questions that we've come up with, and we're going to just have her kind of answer those frequently asked questions and then open it up. So if you guys have any other questions, drop it in the chat and we'll make sure that we get all your questions answered before we're done here. So I'll turn it on over to Laura. Thanks.
Hey. Hi, everybody. I see lots of familiar faces. I am so excited about everything that we have going right now, and all of our international growth and product development that you know some of and you don't know some of. And so I just wanted to come talk to you guys about it and tell you how excited I am and tell you a little bit about my history and where I came from and sort of why it's important to me. It is always kind of hard to know where to start your own story. Just, I'm sure you guys have had the same experience when you're talking to your teams, like, where do I start? So I'm just going to start at the very beginning. I think that's always the easiest place. So I didn't start out in the makeup industry. I didn't start out in the direct sales industry. I really was a perfectly normal little kid and with a perfectly normal family until I was, just very quintessential family until I was about 12 and my parents got divorced. And like in a lot of households, divorce can really just tear up your whole life. It changes your socioeconomic background and where you live and just your whole view of the world as a little kid. And so when I was about 12 and my parents got divorced, we moved away, we moved around a lot. My mom was very unhappy. My dad met someone who was abusive and everything just sort of fell apart. And so I ended up moving out when I was 14 and I rented a room from some people and I cleaned houses. To pay for food and rent. It's not very expensive to rent a room, but still, and I went to high school. And so I thought I would try living with my dad. That did not work out because, as I said, my stepmom was really abusive. And so I was, moved around from place to place, couch surfed until I was about 16. And then I got my own apartment and I graduated from high school early. And I worked as a telemarketer at Olin Mills Photography. It was my job at the time. And I decided to go to college in Arizona, tech school for like a year. And I worked fast food there at used to be called the Great Steak and Fry Company, but now it's Charlie's. I was just there over the weekend. It was actually really cool. And from then on, it was just, kind of me against the world. And because of leaving early and moving out early and not having a lot of resources and not having a lot of family to depend on, I was really always trying really hard to do anything I could to succeed. And I had huge goals and I didn't really have any place having those goals, it felt like, but I just knew I was meant for way better and I just had to figure out how to get there. And so I was always trying something, I was always trying to educate myself. And there's so many I guess they aren't silly, but there's so many things that I did that seemed, they seem silly now, but they really were important at the time. Like, I don't even think I ever told anybody this particular story in the company, but when I was 16, I decided I wanted to buy a house and I didn't have any place buying a house, right? I was a 16-year-old out on my own and I went to a real estate seminar by a guy named Robert Allen, who was like the big real estate guru on TV of the time. And they have those free seminars, and then you go and they convince you to spend $2,000, $3,000 and join their group, right? And so I went to one of those, and I didn't have $2,000 or $3,000 to buy the extended training and everything. And he had said, as part of his speech that he gave, he had said, well, if somebody really showed initiative, if they just showed up, I wouldn't turn them away, and if they'd figured out some way to get in or whatever, I wouldn't turn them away. And so my maiden name happens to be Allen. And I thought, well, I've got an in here. And so I went to the front desk and asked for his room number and said I was his niece and showed them my ID. And they gave me his room number. So I went up afterwards and I knocked on the door and I said, hi, my name's Laura Allen. I said I was your niece so I could get in here. And you told me that if I could get up here, or you told all of us, if I could get here, I could get in the door, that you'd let me stay. And there's all these people there that had bought this big package and they just heard him say it and they're all looking at him and they're like, what you going to do, Robert? And he was like, come on in. So I got his training. And that training is what helped me buy my first house. That's how I learned how to buy real estate, was by sneaking my way up into Robert Allen's hotel room for his private meeting with his directors. Just things like that I was just always, just anything I could do. I just wouldn't take no for an answer. And I failed a lot. Like buying a house when you can't afford to buy a house, like you can imagine, it's just like recruiting. Like I had to make 100 offers before anybody even gave me the time of day. And so it was like a numbers game to me. It was just like, okay, offer after offer after offer after offer. And finally somebody said yes. When I was about 19, I bought my first house when I was 19 because of that. And so, that's just how my life has been. So it's been like up, down, up, down. And every time I thought I was doing well, something would go really wrong because I didn't have enough education or the background to really know what the heck I was doing most of the time. And so, I just went through a lot. I bought properties, and my first couple of properties I bought were like small, and I fixed them up and sold them, and I made a little money. And then I bought a threeplex and a fiveplex, so 8 units. Or was it a duplex or fiveplex, or seven or 8 units? And it was 2 houses that were like, turned into apartments. And I didn't understand how to manage them correctly. And I had a property manager managing them, and the property manager wasn't paying the mortgage on time. And I lost them to foreclosure before I ever knew anything was wrong. And I was horrified. I mean, that was like years of my life I just spent, and I spent all my money, and I'd done all that work on the other houses to buy these, and it was gone. It's gone. And I didn't have like savings or anything anymore. That was it. I was so young. And so that's just kind of how things went. I lost that, and I built up a business, and as a photographer, and it was very feast or famine all the time, just scraping my way up to getting to where people would pay me to take pictures. And I had daughters. I got married twice. And with seemed like every time, it's like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'm married. I'm gonna be happy. And then I got divorced, and he turned out not to be a nice human. And then, everything kind of fell down. And then I built it back up again. I probably started 5 businesses before I was 30. Like everything from making when you go in a hotel and they have the books that have like the advertisements in them for like the local restaurants and stuff. So I was making those and trying to sell them to hotels, and then you'd sell the advertisements. That wasn't a terrible business idea, just didn't pan out. I did try to start a makeup company, much like our clutch. That's where the idea for that clutch came from years and years ago. I invented a different type of jeans and almost got on QVC, but didn't. Have a trademark for them and everything. There's just so many things, I invented a lot of stuff that didn't go anywhere, but I worked my butt off forever trying to get it there, and it just didn't make it. That's what happens with products most of the time, but you just keep trying. And I kind of finally thought I'd gotten, I was in my late 30s. I thought, okay, I got this, I'm doing good. And then I got divorced again and ended up in, a 1,000 square foot apartment with my 2 kids for the next few years, scraping by. I just didn't have much left after that. And the real estate market crashed. So what I did have, it wasn't worth anything. I had one house. I had one little rental house in Bellingham, and it wasn't worth anything. My sister ended up living in it, and it was just a hot mess. And then, again, I thought, things were getting better. Real estate market was coming up. I was leasing to own a building that I was buying, and it was a huge building. It was hoarded, and it was years of work. Megan's seen it from the beginning to the end. And I ended up having my identity stolen, and it was very, very serious. I was made to look like the editor and chief and writer of the most egregious fake news, like very far right wing Facebook and website channels during not this election, but the one before. And I lost everything, and I didn't even know why. Nobody told me, we think that you're someone who says we should go kill Muslims. Like no one told me that they thought that I was a person saying all these things, and I hadn't seen it. It was like huge before I ever even knew. I don't see fake news, I'm not paying attention to that. And so all of a sudden I had no photography business, and no one was coming, and no one wanted to talk to me, and I didn't know why. And so I found out why after a few months and tried to fight it, and it cost me everything to fight it, and I was horrified, and the news media was there, and it's like I had that experience where you come out of your house and there's all the trucks with the satellites on them. It was awful. And I thought, well, I have my building, and it's going to be okay. I don't need to be a photographer. I can just work here, and I can get it rented out, and it's going to be fine. And I started a little ice cream parlor in the building. And I won the court case. And right after I won the court case, I finally got the building done, or mostly done, and I got all of it rented out, and I actually had an income again, and everything was going to be fine. And I literally showed up 3 days later, and my building had been condemned because the city found out that the person who I bought it from had lied about tons of permits and made fraudulent permits and did a ton of unpermitted work, and they felt that the building wasn't safe. And I did everything I could to save it from that condemnation, and I spent every dime I had, and I lost it anyway. And the reason I did that was because I was trying to save the people in the building. I had 20 businesses in there, and I didn't want them all to lose their businesses, and I spent every dime I had. And right about then, Bob got fired from his job. Well, laid off along with 1,600 other people at IBM, but still no income. And we were like, how are we here now, And so for me, it wasn't as shocking, honestly, as it was for him, because he's always been successful and he's never not had a job. And so he was actually he couldn't even fathom, but I was like, Jesus, now I got to do this again. I got to build myself up again somehow. And I was really depressed, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I was like, hard time getting out of bed, hard time caring for my kids, hard time doing anything, really depressed. And wasn't much I could do. I just had to, keep moving forward. Oh, look, and my phone's ringing. I'm going to turn it off. Sorry. It was my uncle. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to have to rebuild my photography business. It's the only thing I know how to do right now. It's the only thing I can do without money is take pictures. And so I was kind of trying to convince myself to do that. And I saw the sandwiching magnetic lashes that Katie Stoka invented on TV. And they were really expensive. And I would say, if I'd known then what I knew now, that, Ardell stole those while they were being patented and, knocked them off like they did our product, I would never have bought them from Sally's. I would have bought them from her, but I didn't know that they weren't, legitimately licensed product. And so I went to Sally's and I bought these, and I had convinced myself that, this would make my job a lot easier. They'd be reusable. It would save money. The truth is, I just wanted a little retail therapy, and I had no money. And so I convinced myself I could afford to buy them. And I think everybody's probably done that once or twice. And so I tried them on. I was actually overly weirdly excited about them in hindsight. I think I was a little manic, to be honest, because I was, you're depressed, and then something excites you and you're like, I've been so down for so long that this thing is like, oh my God, eyelashes, so I'm sitting in my car, and I tried to put them on, and I tried and I couldn't put them on. And I was like, what on earth is happening? Like, if I can't do this after being a photographer and doing hair and makeup for 25 years, how on earth can anyone wear these? And I just thought, if my eyeliner was magnetic, this top lash would work, right? But the problem is obviously that there's no magnetic eyeliner. And I was like, I wonder if that's a thing. And so I'm in my car and I'm Googling it, and it wasn't a thing. And so I figured out while still in my car that I could buy some like magnetic stuff that was okay on skin, iron oxide, and I could figure out how to make eyeliner. I'm crafty. And so I went and bought the stuff, and I went home, and I just figured, well, if I could get it to work at all, it'd be great. It would change everything, really. And so I started working on it, and I realized immediately just making eyeliner that's usable is harder than I thought, and so it took me a while to even make eyeliner that wasn't just gross. And I was using like, DIY ingredients, so that made it way harder. Um, and then, excuse me, it took a little time. And I realized that like I knew how important it was. I did. I mean, I knew this was a really big deal, and it took me weeks to really get it to work. And I remember just having to convince myself so hard to just spend 10 minutes. Like, just get up, go to your kitchen, and try one more formulation and write it down. Just do it now. Do it. Because I was so depressed. I mean, I really just couldn't do much. And so I forced myself to get up every day, and I forced myself, and I didn't spend hours a day. Sometimes I spent 5 minutes. Sometimes I spent hours, and then I'd get frustrated, and then I'd be more depressed. And the next day I'd spend 5 minutes, but I kept trying. And after a while, one day it stuck. And I will never, ever, ever forget when that thing stuck and I shook my hand and it didn't go anywhere. And I was like, oh God, everything just changed. Everything. I mean, I knew the second that stuck to my hand, I knew everything changed. And I swear to God, I knew I'd be sitting here today. I saw the whole next 5-10 years of my life. Like I just 100% knew that if I just pushed really, really, really hard, that this was it. This was that thing that all the other failures have taught me how to get to this point right now. And so that's how I get all emotional. I'm sorry. So anyway, that's how we got here today, is just through tons of trial and error, and tons of picking myself back up and not being perfect, and not having things handed to me, and a lot of really hard times. And but I just knew. And so it was so important to me once I knew that I was going to be okay, and I had something in my life that was definitely, because I swear to God, I so many times I didn't know if I was going to be able to have a place to live, or food, or where, if I could keep my apartment or pay the rent or things like that. So to me, my goal wasn't to get rich. It was just to be okay, like to not be afraid every dang morning. I was tired of being afraid. And I know so many people are tired of being afraid. And so once I knew I had something where I was okay, the thing I wanted more than anything, because the thing I wanted more than anything up until that point was help. I just wanted help, and it was very hard to get help. And so I wanted to be that person that helped everybody else. And so that I could share it, and do my very best to make sure that as long as I was able to provide I could provide guidance, and I could provide product, and I could provide all the assistance someone needs, that if they were really willing to like just knuckle down and do it as hard as they could, that they could be okay too. It's like, I don't expect to do the work for anybody, but I just wanted to make sure that I could share that opportunity with anyone who was willing to work hard like I did, so that they would be okay too. So that's why I decided on direct sales. It was the only way I knew where I could really literally share the opportunity, even to the point where the people that work with me make more than I do. That everybody would have an opportunity to go as far as they could go, no matter how hard they work. And we do have Mindy's an example. Mindy makes more than I make. It's the idea is just for you guys, for all of us to be able to reach our potential. And it's really, really hard if you didn't have someone who sent you off to Harvard, or you didn't, have parents who paid your rent, or you didn't have that. And so I wanted to help bridge the gap. So here we are.
Thank you, Laura. So you're so inspiring. And we all thank you. Thank you for what you did, for your resilience to keep going. I know that there's more to your story.
Yeah.
And
it's
I know
long.
that I know that in the UK specifically, it's really, really important about what's in the products, and that it's safe. And I know that that's a big part of what you stand behind. If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your experience. And I've actually heard Bob tell this story. And And he talks about how just resilient she is and that she was going to head on over to, wherever and make sure that this was done correctly. So if you don't mind, we love that. Thank you so much.
Okay. So, well, we tried to make our products in the USA initially. It's where we are. And so you trust quality and things like that. I wasn't able to because first I couldn't get into any cosmetic companies. No one would listen to me because apparently everybody and their mother thinks that they're going to be the next Kim Kardashian. And so these people don't even take calls. They're like, yeah, no, you're not going to have a makeup brand. And they didn't believe me when I said I invented a new cosmetic because that like never happens. And so after quite a long time, we'd actually had a Kickstarter based on the idea and the ones that I was making, selling one off on Facebook to friends and things like that. And so we made about $58,000 on the Kickstarter, which definitely proved that people were interested. And then by the time we actually had, so when you do a Kickstarter, which I would not ever recommend, by the way, because you get knocked off way faster because they know before you're even ready to ship what you're doing. So they, I didn't even have production when we sold all that. And by the time we were all the way done with the Kickstarter and we gotten, people's like lash preference and everything, we'd sold quite a bit more. So we were up to about $100,000 and we had no product, none. And so I was like, oh Lord, because we thought for sure we'd be fine by then. We couldn't get anybody to make it. And so I finally found one company in New Jersey and they said they would make it. And I could not get this guy to actually use my formulation. He kept saying, oh no, you have to do this and you have to do that. But I taught myself to formulate. I got the books, I did the thing. Like I knew I was doing it correctly. And so I was like, why won't you just use my formulation? And so I flew out there and said, let's work together. I got there, they wouldn't even let me in the lab. And I had to like sit at a table while they'd mix something and then they'd bring it out and did this, for 2 days. And finally it was like the last hour of the last day. And I said, will you please just do it once my way entirely? Just put in it exactly what I put in it because it works. And he said, no, because I am just a soccer mom who makes things in my kitchen and I don't understand how things work really. And I was like, are you serious? You're fired. I was like, so I fired the only people who were willing to work with me. And so I had nothing. And so I was terrified. I had $100,000 of other people's money and I had no product. And by this time, the knockoffs were already starting to come out and I didn't even have my own mass production. And this guy's telling me it's impossible. I'm like, really? Because they knocked it off. Like, I can't understand why you won't do what I say. And so I ended up flying to China. In the middle of the night, I was just like, I have to go to China. And I'd been talking to some companies just in case we couldn't get it done in the USA because it was getting so sketchy and just it was dicey. And I was like, I'm not going to make it. And so I'd found one company that did organic skincare in China that I trusted. And I talked to them and I was like, that's it. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there and I'm going to sit with the chemist. I'm going to make him let me in the lab and we're going to make it. We're going to do it my way. And so I didn't have a visa. And so my friend Denise and I decided we're going to try to sneak into China. It worked. So I flew to China. They didn't even want to let me on the plane because I didn't have a visa. And I was like, well, can't they just turn me back? And they were like, well, no, not unless you have a flight. We can't let you get on the plane unless you have a flight somewhere where that's like a logical layover. And that way, if you can't get into China, you have a layover and then you can go to that place that you can get into that you don't need a visa and then fly home. And I was like, okay, so I'm standing in the line at the airport and I found that there was a flight to Thailand out of the same area of the airport because you can't change gates, out of the same area of the airport that was within 24 hours so that if I got stuck in the airport, I wouldn't be there over 24 hours and I could go to Thailand. It was Bangkok, Thailand, and then fly home. So I had to buy tickets for my friend Denise and I to go to Bangkok just in case they wouldn't let us into China. And so when we got there, we basically paid about $500 per person to buy a temporary visa once we landed. And they knew who we were. We hopped off that plane. They're like, come with us now. We're like, okay, but we got in, yay. And went and met with them. And then Bob realized while I was on the flight, we had no NDAs, we had no contracts, nothing. And so like in the 20 hours that Denise and I were flying over, he's like begging lawyers to write us contracts, which we found out had to be in Chinese. And he found a lawyer who speaks Chinese who wrote us a contract. And then like we were supposed to be there at like 8 a.m., but it wasn't quite done yet. And it had to be signed before I told them anything. And so I'm like, oh, I woke up late. We'll be done in a few minutes. And finally the dang fax came at like 9, and it was like 9. And we're like, ready, let's go. It was like suddenly it was like, okay, and now we can leave. So we signed off, went to their office, signed off on the faxes, and talked to them about what we needed. The next day we went to the factory, and I worked with the chemist there. He made my formulation exactly the way I made it. It took him 2 tries. He put too much water in the first time because one of the ingredients he was using was premixed with water. Second, we realized that, took the water out, the additional water out, and it worked. It took 10 minutes to do something that nobody could do in forever, because they just wouldn't listen to me, because I was a girl, because I wasn't a chemist, because I wasn't in the industry. They just didn't believe me. And so it was a really hard road just to get someone to trust me enough to just do the thing I asked them to do and try, And so we only work, that's the only company that makes our Chinese liner. We have a US company now that makes our water resistant one, the easier to remove one. They both work with organics. Our company in China only makes the product for us. No one else has our actual proprietary formulation. They literally keep it under lock and key. They have 2 different people that do the different parts. Only the one chemist knows the full formulation. It's like Coca-Cola over there. They're not joking around. Every now and then we have an auditor call and say there's somebody else and try to buy magnetic eyeliner from them. They're like, we don't know what that is. What are you talking about? So we check on them, just make sure. But we are very, very obsessed with the quality. Absolutely. First in the world, best in the world. We're not joking. Once I actually just asked, because, these people, for a short period of time, some knockoffs are coming out with like brightly colored magnetic eyeliner. And it's not possible, because you have to put quite a lot of iron oxide in. Iron oxide is jet black. And so you can't get a lot of color over the top of it. And so I asked our chemist, well, what are they using? And he lost his mind. He was like, that is not safe. You cannot put that. I was like, I wasn't asking to put it in. I was just asking what it was. Like, calm down, dude. And so I'm like, well, okay, that's good though. And I know you won't sneak anything in there. But yeah, we just are absolutely obsessed. Our chemists are obsessed. We are the only company that tests our eyeliner. The rest of them, they have no testing, none. They just make it and sell it to people. They don't do ocular testing. They don't do skin tests. They don't do stability tests. They don't do anything. We're the only company that actually tests our products for safety. In the whole of all the knockoffs, no one tests them, not legitimately. So, we're very, very safe. And the other companies they aren't, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong in them. I'm just saying that we don't know if there is or not. And those ones that were the brightly colored ones, they left the market very rapidly. They were clearly unsafe, and they actually got taken out of the market by the governmental procedure. But so anyway, we are really very, very safety conscious.
Yes, and I know that was one of the big questions that they had, was what sets us apart from other companies. And there is a list. There's a list. That's a big part, big part of it. So, and you talked about that first moment that it actually, was
Stuck.
actually stick. And I think we've all had that experience ourselves, where it's like, whoa. And for me, it was, I kind of had those assumptions, like, does this really work? Try it out. Yes, it does. And my experience was, I was like, whoever this is a genius. And then I had a chance to go meet you for the first time, and I took that opportunity, and I came over, and it was before launch. It was about 6 weeks before launch, I think, 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
And I was able to sit down with Laura and just start to kind of just ask her questions, be like, what are your future plans and goals? I want to hear it. I'm all in, but let's chat. And I knew within minutes, and I was just like, I seriously get the chills still talking about it today, but I'm like, this is going to be huge. This is going to be huge. And she just dreams bigger than any of us can even imagine. And we're moving at rates that's just incredible. And so before we get into questions, Laura, if you wouldn't mind maybe just kind of taking us through the timeline of how fast this company has grown.
Oh, Lordy, so fast. The initial invention was February of 2018. the first shipment that we had of mass produced was December of 2018. And then before we even shipped our first mass produced shipment, so in October of 2018, I started the process of building Tori Belle. So we actually hadn't even mass produced our first shipment for lash liner prior to us starting Tori Belle. And when we started Tori Belle, we did it in a very like, what's the word for it? We wanted to go in through the front door. We wanted it to be right. We wanted it to be able to scale and grow. And we had a lot of hope for it, and we believed in it. And so we were just like, okay, we're all in. And so basically every dime we made on lash liner, we put into Tori Belle until June of that year. So June of 2019 is when we launched, June 11th, I believe it was. And our first launch was just.
I keep saying you've been home for a long time.
We got somebody else.
We got it. We're good.
Got it. Okay. So June of 2019, we launched. We didn't have sales for what was about the first 2 weeks. We were just building. It was a very short, like pre-launch, and so we had our first day. I think we had 750 people sign up, and we turned it off. We were like, we can't handle this many people at once.
Yeah.
And so we turned that off, and then we got ourselves back together, and then we turned it back on. And then we had like another 750 people. We were like, and so it took us 10 days we use Unique as a guideline because one, Matt Cooley, who used to be their president, is now our COO. And so it's an easy comparison for us to make. And also they were one of the first online direct sales companies. So it's the most direct comparison that we can make, and their cosmetics. And so, and also they were one of the fastest growing cosmetic companies in history. They are one of the fastest growing cosmetic companies in history. So it took us 10 days to get to where they were, both in income and in recruits. It took us 10 days to get to where it took them 10 months. So we grew insanely fast. We were by far, and are still by far, the fastest growing direct sales company in history. And so our first year, I think, our first, from June to June, I think we made like maybe $12 million or something like that. And but then our first, like, January to January, we're up to $70 million, which is just unheard of. Just absolutely unheard of. Probably at 80 now, actually. But we have signed up, oh God, how many? I would have to look at you can tell how many people we've ever signed up. You just have to look at the most current person's ID number, because we started at 1. So I believe we're in the neighborhood of 75,000 people that we have signed up. We only we count active affiliates, which are people who have like ever had sales ever, because a lot of people sign up because they believe they're going to buy enough product that it's worth $9 a month for them to get 25% off. And so we have people who just have never wanted to sell, and they're really just kind of in a discount club in their minds, And so of those people, I think we have about in the neighborhood of 50,000 people who have signed up that we believe, to sell. And of those 50,000 people, about 20,000 make over $50 a month. So they have at least $250 or $200 in sales per month, which is, compared to the norm, very, very high, very high. And over half of our sales are to customers themselves, not to affiliates who then sell them to customers, which is also very, very high. So yeah, that's where we are. Those are the numbers of where we are right now. We're doing amazingly, but it is a huge world, and a very small percentage of people have ever even heard of magnetic eyeliner. So, let alone our company. So, I mean, the world is the limit. And I read an interesting statistic recently. Only 0.93%, so less than 1% of all retail sales are through any kind of direct sales or multi-level marketing. So the other 99.03% of the world or that's in the United States, in the United States are available for us to grow into. So the market is just like, there's so much room. People don't realize how much room there is in the market. I mean, it's just a massively untapped market. So I am super excited to both have the sales channel and have inventions and other ones coming out. It's just, there's so much for us to do.
Yes, and when you look at a map, I mean, here we are, we were able to launch in the United States and then into Canada, and then here we are into 6 new countries. And I don't think we even fathom, like, it's hard to even fathom the amount of space. And then truthfully, we're going global, fully global. I know it. And we're going at record speeds. So that's so exciting to just keep
We
that
haven't
in
even
mind.
started sales in our 6 new countries, and we're picking the next 3 now. So already starting to work on the next 3.
I'm not surprised. Cool. Okay, well, let's open it up to those questions. I've got Lindsay on here and Dion. They are 2 ladies from the UK, and I had kind of just thrown it out there to get a few questions kind of started here. They're going to go ahead and read them if that's okay. And then if anybody else has any other questions, I think what we'll do is just have you guys drop it in the chat. We'll read it from there just to kind of start. And yeah, thank you, Laura. Okay, Lindsay, would you like to go first? I've got the questions here if needed.
Did you want me to speak, Mindy?
Yes, is that okay with those questions?
Yeah,
okay.
I was typing away in the chat.
Oh, you're good. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Booth from the United Kingdom. Hope you're all well. So let me just grab these questions. So the first question on the list from the ladies in the UK is number 1, what ways do we know that our products are safe?
And we do extensive testing. So we do ocular testing, which is eyeball testing. They don't test it on animals. So actually what they use is, it is a fertilized chicken egg. It's apparently very similar to, but there's no chicken in it, it's just the egg is fertilized, but it's very similar to the eye in the way that the veins and things will react. It's got veins and stuff in it. And so if it bothers that over the course of time, then we know what will bother a being's eye. So we do ocular testing. We do skin patch testing, where we hire humans to wear skin patches of the product for 7, 14, 21, and 28 days. And so up to a month. And we do skin testing. We do stability testing, which means it basically just sits in different environments like heat and cold and dry and moist and things like that for up to 12 weeks. We test the heck out of everything. And to date, we have had like perfect scores. There's nothing, no ever problem on the skin, nothing like that. Of course, anybody can be allergic to anything, but it's a very much hypoallergenic in that it's far less allergenic than anything else that you would purchase, like latex.
Obviously, we are aware that we won't be getting the remover at the minute as it stands. So that was a concern to us, because I've previously been with a company from the USA. When we've had products delivered, they've got stopped through customs and different things. So that's why we are a little bit, do you know what I mean? Like, we want to make sure that these products are completely safe, that the customers are literally going to get them at the door and it's fine.
Yes. So we also went through the process of what we're going through it right now. And that's actually the only thing that's delaying our sales launch is going through the process of having both the Australian and the UK, because Australia also does New Zealand. So Australia, New Zealand, and all the UK getting registered, getting the products themselves registered in the countries. And so the process for that is we have to have the factories give them like very extensive testing information and all the ingredient information. And so we're pretty much done with the gold liner. It passed everything. And then now we're working, because it's Chinese New Year, we couldn't finish getting the information until they're back from Chinese New Year for the classic liner. So not only do we extensively test it, but the governments of those countries, they also have to be registered there, and they also go through all of our testing and decide whether or not it's safe. And so that is something that we register for at customs. And so when our products come in through customs, they already know that they have been registered and they just go through. So yeah, we don't have to worry about them getting stopped and tested and mass at the border because we're registering. Any other ones?
Okay, next question, Laura, is when does the fast track period start?
The fast track period. So your fast track is your first full 10 months now. And there are different markers for each month, and so different bonuses that you can earn within each period. And it starts, so we call it your first full month because the day that you start isn't the first full month, it's the first day of the first full month. So let's say that you started on April 1st or 2nd. If you start April 2nd, your first full month is on May 1st. If you started April 1st, it would be April 1st because it's the first. So the first, does that make sense? Is the first day of your fast start period.
Okay.
But none of it starts until we start selling.
Yeah. Dion, have you got anything else to ask?
Mine was obviously, I'm aware that there's no talks at the moment for a distribution centre over here, but is that something that you're looking to get into in time?
Yes,
just for shipping reasons and getting it as quick as we can to our customers, as you like.
Yes, yep, we are working on it. Immediately, we won't be able to have distribution in Europe, just because logistically we won't have enough business to do it. But as soon as we get big enough that in Europe that we have enough production that they'll take us, then we'll put a distribution center there. We'll get it. It's called a 3PL, third party logistics supplier. And you have to have enough distribution to use them. And so as soon as we get up to that level, then we're already working on finding the right one. So yes.
Yeah. Another thing that's being fed back to me is the travel vouchers. Obviously we're under lockdown at the moment in the UK, so there's no plans going on anywhere soon, unfortunately, at the moment. So girls are obviously feeding back that is not going to be beneficial to them over in the UK at the moment. So is there something that maybe we could look at as an alternative? It's just a little question.
We'll do, once everything calms back down, we'll do another, like a smaller conference or trip in Europe so that you guys can.
Okay.
We just have to, wait till we can travel again.
Okay, so the next question from me is, we were getting an improvised website. What kinds of things will this offer us, Laura?
So in the very beginning, it will be the 2 types of liner and all of the lashes. And then as they approve more cosmetics, they'll all go on. However, the liner and the lashes make up 70% of all of our sales. So that's going to be the bulk of what anybody really needs anyway. I believe because our powders are made in Italy, that the foundations will be next because they're already made in Europe. So it's a quicker process. It would have been instant, except for because of Brexit, the UK now has a separate process even for registering makeup than the rest of Europe. And so it's funny because when we started, it was before Brexit was done. And so it was like, oh, great, we could just sell those there. And then it was like, seriously, like a day or so, like before we launched was when they finished the whole Brexit thing. And they were like, nope, now you got to register over there. We're like, oh, darn it. So yes, but as soon as those will probably be the first things will be the foundations, just because being made in Italy is quicker. It's very similar. And then, move through all the other products. So it'll probably take us 6 months before you guys have everything, but you'll have all of the lashes and the liners right off the bat.
Fantastic. And I'm so glad about the foundation because I'm a beauty queen, so I absolutely love anything cosmetics. The next question, Laura, is the free shipping threshold with our countries. Will it still be $100?
I don't have it in front of me, but it's very, yours is less because your and it's before taxes. I want to say yours was like $75 or $80, something like that. I know it's 7.77 is the peg rate, which is just the long standing exchange rate as opposed to having one that changes every day. And I know that you guys have to show your products with the VAT, which is another 0.2. So but I don't think that, I can't imagine that they include the VAT in that. So I'm thinking it's gonna be around between $75 and $80.
Okay, thank you.
Go on.
Sorry,
Pounds though, yes,
you want to
pounds,
go?
sorry.
I'll just do this one last question.
Okay.
Well, no, I've got a couple, but I'll let you go next. Do we get paid straight into our bank account, Laura? And will they be?
This is mine.
Yeah. All right then, Dion, you ask.
Oh, sorry, no, okay. Basically, we were just wondering whether the girls in the UK will be paid US dollars and whether there would be a conversion charge, basically. Yeah, that's the question.
We actually so we have a company called Pay Quicker that does our payouts, and we met with them yesterday about that exact thing. And we are thinking that we are going to try to not use Pay Quicker in the UK and try to do direct deposits, ACH deposits into bank accounts, because it does get us to where we don't have to pay that exchange. Right now, I believe it's $1, so it's not a huge deal. And we have been paying, we pass on the $1 to you guys, which is basically to pay the Pay Quicker charge, but then we have been paying the approximately 3% that they charge for the changing the money over. So there's a fee to us, but not a fee to you, except for that
Okay.
$1. That the dollar, I believe, is just to have the card.
Yeah. Sorry, back to you, Lindsay. Sorry.
Fine, no problem at all. Okay, Laura, what will be in our essential bundle for the UK?
It is
Same or?
I believe it's going to be, I don't know if we can sell, I don't think we can immediately sell the remover. And so normally here you get removers. So your essential bundle there will probably be the 2 liners. So the gold liner and the classic liner, and then 2 pairs of lashes, like probably like an illusion lash and a regular lash. And I am not positive yet, but I believe that's what it's going to be.
Okay, great.
Dion, anything else?
No, I don't think so. I think that was everything.
So Laura, the final question on my list is, how many affiliates are in the UK?
Of course.
Oh gosh, I haven't checked today, but I believe it's in the neighborhood of 400.
And they are all active at the moment.
Well, they're all, there's no sales yet. So
Yeah.
That's a silly question.
they're all recruiting.
Yeah.
Oh, you know
Yeah,
what?
okay.
I forgot to tell you that there will be other things on your website, because I was just thinking cosmetics, but anything that's not a cosmetic will be up there too. So like you can get the clutch if you want it just to hold your eyelashes. You'll be able to get like the liner holder, the lash discs, any of the other magnetic compacts, applicator, which would be definitely in your essentials kit, those kinds of things. So anything that isn't a cosmetic will also immediately be available.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great.
All right.
Oh, it's just popped up. Sorry, I've just had a message of one of our girls. Oh, sorry. No, go on, Mindy. Over to you. I can ask later. It's fine.
No, I was just going to ask if there were any more questions.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Yeah, no, basically, it's just popped up at the bottom of the screen. We've just signed a Scottish lady up, and she's obviously mega excited and wondered whether it's actually in Scotland or not. At the moment, we weren't entirely sure about Northern Ireland and Scotland, whether there is girls out there on board.
And we are in Scotland. We're not in the Republic of Ireland. We are in Northern Ireland.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it'll be good. I'm Scotch Irish, or part Scotch Irish. And my daughters have done Highland dance their whole life. So they're just so excited to be able to go to Scotland, and like they're like, can we have a meeting in Scotland? Or like, yes, we will. So,
Laura, sorry to interrupt. I think Dion was trying to ask how many specifically are in Scotland. And
how many? I have not had them break it down for me.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I can tell you how many are approximately in New Zealand and Australia, but I only have UK as one block, but I can find out.
Brilliant, yeah. Just because obviously if they're the first ones in, it's bringing up a big boost of momentum and they're like, wow, we're one of the first. So obviously,
Oh, well,
like, even if
yeah.
it was,
They're definitely going to be one of the first. I know that the majority are more in England.
yeah, brilliant.
I don't know about Wales. I'll find out. I'll find out how it's broken up.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Laura. It looks like we have about 2 minutes left. So if anybody has any other questions, they can just unmute or drop it in the chat. Otherwise, thank you so much, Laura. This has been so amazing. This is something that everybody's been looking forward to for a while now. So appreciate you taking time to do this with us, and you're very inspiring. We all
I appreciate you guys so much. I mean,
admire you and thank you.
the
And
team. Thank you. Thank you guys all so much for, I mean, Mindy knows, but I just can't ever even begin to get over the fact that that all of you guys and all the rest of the affiliates, they believed in me, because like I was saying, I just felt like people didn't when I was younger and I had to fight so hard. And it's the weirdest thing in the world to realize that there's all these people in the world now that do believe in me and that do believe in our country and that are all willing to help each other. And our company is just, I mean, it isn't us and the field. It is all one huge team. And we just could not possibly be more thankful and proud and honored that you guys would believe in our products and us and trust us. So thank you so much, so much. It's amazing.
thank you. All right, you guys, we'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.